He's John Smoltz, the Emmy Award-winning, outstanding sports event analyst. And, well, let me, before we get to all of that, I'm watching the golf tournament this weekend, American Century, and my boy John Smoltz is leading. And I thought, well, that's great. John's going to win, and then he's going to go, he's going to be hosting the All Star game, and then you lose to Vinny Del Negro. How nervous were you? Pitched in a World Series before, John. How nervous were you compared to how you were on Sunday in the last couple of holes there?
So it wasn't the nerves that got me. I mean, I felt great in a baseball game, of course. Golf is a different story. So, and in some of the tournaments that I played in, the nerves were worse in golf. Unfortunately, in this tournament, I had lost my swing. So it's a worse scenario than nerves. Like, it isn't the nerves that lost my swing. I just lost the fundamentals of my swing. And when you do that in golf, you're like hanging on. And so I felt like there was nowhere to go. Like in baseball, if I lost my fastball, I have my slider, I have my split, or vice versa. In golf, if you lose your swing, you're basically you're trying to figure out how you're going to get the ball in the hole. So I definitely was battling the last round. I wish I would have had a better swing going, but I got to give Vinny all the credit because he played great that last day. And then the story about him losing his dad and not telling anybody and winning the tournament was something pretty incredible.
You needed Leo Mazzoni, I think, to help you out there. Come out to the mound but explain how you lose your swing.
Well, in golf, like I'm not connected mechanically like I was in baseball. And yeah, you get a reminder in baseball. I'd come out and say, hey, do this. And Greg Olson, my caddy, was great in trying to get me through the round. But in golf, like I'm not as technically sound. I mean, I'm kind of a self-taught golfer anyways. And when you hit a ball, I think it was around the 11th hole, and you go, where did that come from? All of a sudden you start thinking about things that you don't have a go-to shot. And so I will have learned another lesson, a painful lesson about, finishing the deal, because the shot on 17 is the whole tournament for me. And I hit a bad shot on 17, but it wasn't because I can honestly say in past tournaments, it would be more nerves, but now I played in enough tournaments that the nerves aren't the issue as much as me not making a good swing.
But what's tougher, hitting a baseball or, hitting a golf ball?
Hitting a golf ball under the circumstances of a tournament, especially when you know that you got a chance to win a tournament, which, I've only won a couple. So hitting a golf ball under self-induced pressure, I would guess would be the thing, because it's not moving. You would think hitting a baseball is way tougher.
Yeah. And
the art of hitting a baseball certainly is tougher, because anybody can hit a golf ball, but can you hit a golf ball straight, or can you hit a golf ball with that tension that, you can't have tension. You can have a little tension and hit a baseball and be a little aggressive. You can't really do that as a golfer.
John will be on the call with Joe Buck, the fifth consecutive All Star game that they've been together. That'll be at 8 Eastern on Fox. Pre-game coverage beginning at 7 Eastern. Kenny Rosenthal, Tom Bertucci will also be there as well. We've been talking about the Home Run Derby. A lot of people probably tuned in because Ohtani was there, even though he bowed out in the first round. I was looking for a comp here, John, of maybe somebody you played against or with who could have done both, pitching and hitting. I don't know. Carlos Zambrano was a great hitting pitcher, good pitcher. Madison Bumgarner, Mike Mussina. Do you know anybody that back then that could have been able to pull this off, of what, not have the power of Ohtani, but to be able to be a day-to-day hitter?
Not really. The pitchers like Mike Hampton, the pitchers you just mentioned, they had ability to, run 2, 3, 4 homers in a year, maybe. But nobody to this magnitude that we've been able to see do it at a level that is unmatched. We go back to Babe Ruth, and I know Babe Ruth, it's easy to just make that comparison, but it's harder to try and draw out what Babe Ruth did to what Ohtani's doing in this era, because there's so many more home runs. And I think Ohtani in itself, I've said this many times, and I know a lot of people think I've lost my mind when I say it. If he just pitched, if all he did was pitch, he would be making the trails of one of the best pitchers in our game, period. But he doesn't just pitch. He doesn't have the reps. He's only got like 25, 26 starts. and he's at such a high level offensively. People don't understand. You've got to concentrate and share your energy in places that pitchers just can't do on a daily basis. You can't pitch once every 5 days and rake like he does every 4 days and then share that greatness. You're going to give up something, and he's giving up something on the pitching end, no doubt, because he's been so good offensively. And I say that if he didn't take another at bat and he just pitched the second half, hands down MVP. I mean, hands down. We thought if he had these numbers at the end of the year, that would be a great year-ending statistics. So I'm in awe of what he's doing, because I know as a pitcher how much time I dedicated to my craft. He's not dedicating that time. He's not giving himself, and rightfully so, because he's a two-way player. So to give you a perspective, and I'll say it tonight on the broadcast, when you get ready to pitch on the road, okay, forget the All Star game, which is what he's doing. You time your performance to get ready so that maybe 5 minutes before your team ends up making the last out, you go out to the mound to pitch. He can't do that. He's got to time it 20 minutes or so before. Then he's got to go hit. Then his team hits. Then he goes on the mound. He might be 30 minutes before he actually throws his first pitch in a game as a pitcher. So there's so many hurdles that he's overcoming and making it look pretty easy. It's amazing to watch.
I just wonder about the whole mental preparation, because as a hitter, you have to prepare for the pitcher you're facing. And as a pitcher, you have to prepare for an entire lineup. And to do that on the same day, it'd be like playing safety and quarterback in the same game.
Yes. I mean, the biggest thing is the physical act can be done. The mental awareness and you get more tired. Like, I could see him being more exhausted in those games, rightfully so, because he's sharing the information both ways. He wants to get hits, and then he wants to go and pour his energy in when you're pitching. When you pitch in the National League or American League, especially in the National League, because now like he's playing National League rules when he pitches. You're hitting ninth. You really don't care about hitting. You're going to put a bunt down. There's no stress. I mean, you're only thinking about the 8 or 9 hitters you got to get out. So he's got a combo of leading off or batting second and getting right away in a different mindset before he even gets in the pitching mindset. So it's a unique skill set, and I don't know how. It's interesting what Joe Maddon's going to be able to do, because they need his bat. I don't know if you can keep leading him off and still pitch at the rate that he's doing. Maybe drop him in the order. I don't know, but this is going to be pretty fun to watch.
How would you pitch him?
Definitely splits away. I mean, anything going away, because anything coming in, I've seen him take high fastballs, sliders at the back foot. The one game that he struggled a little bit offensively, Gosman pitched against him really well, and he's got a great split. And, that game he looked a little bit tired from the standpoint of trying to do both, and he pitched an outstanding game against the Giants. So I would have to make sure that I would have to get something going away from him, because his plate coverage and strength is too good right now.
And he's such a great athlete. I think that people don't realize his size, his speed, and then he's got an incredible right arm, and he's the best power hitter in the game, I guess.
Yeah, it's unique. The only comp I can give you is like a Bo Jackson, who played 2 different sports in the same kind of spot, size, speed, but he played 2 different sports. This guy's playing 2 different sports in the same sport, because we've never seen anybody do it, right? And Deion Sanders would be another guy that would come up to mind, because athletically to do what they're doing is something no one could ever envision. A guy, especially at this level in our game, at the All Star break, 30-some home runs is incredible.
We have Joe Maddon, Ohtani's manager, on tomorrow. If he asked your advice on how long do you stay with this, how long do you want him to go, 2 ways here, what would you say?
Well, if the contract didn't state that he's got to keep doing it, it would be one of those things that I would think.
Wait, it does state that?
Well, I would think part of the reason he's with the Angels is the contract that they worked out, that he was going to get a chance to do this for however many years. I don't know what that means or what it says, but I think that anybody who tried to get out in front of this thought that one of the areas would phase out.
But do you think that there are teams that they weren't going to give him this opportunity to do both?
I think there were teams that were probably hesitant in the beginning to try to, navigate this, because his feet to the fire were quick. And I think all of us who got out in front of it said, this isn't going to work. Yeah. Like, he needs to have some time here or time there. And he's proven everybody wrong. And really the Angels, I got to give them credit, because they've stuck with it. what my advice would be, if the Angels got to a place, this is the rub of what is Ohtani's greatest asset to the Angels? Well, right now, everyone would go is obviously his hitting. But if they get to the playoffs, this greatest asset is his pitching. They don't have that kind of pitching. So that would be a challenge when you get closer to, let's say they were in a playoff run. How do you get him ready to pitch game one and sacrifice something maybe from his hitting standpoint to know he's so important to win a game on the mound? How many games can he win in a series, obviously, at the plate? So it's a delicate challenge, but I'll tell you, Joe Maddon has a good plan, and he's worked it out.
We're talking to the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. He'll be with Joe Buck tonight, 8 Eastern on Fox. Pre-game coverage starts at 7. Kenny Rosenthal and Tom Verducci will be on the field as well, part of the broadcasting crew. The spider tack controversy's kind of gone away for a little while. I kind of liken it to, a police officer is here, so you don't speed by him. You wait until you're past him, and then you may speed by him. So I'm assuming pitchers are just putting it away to bring it back. As a former pitcher, John, what would you be doing if you were using it?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the information that's come out and the timing that they gave the pitchers. You should be able to know how to pitch without it, and especially in the summer. And I think every pitcher that's an elite pitcher will learn how to get around that aspect of, okay, this probably went too far, and the rosin and sweat and the ability to go to your mouth and create some saliva is there for the pitcher. Now, the challenge will be, of course, is going to be if it gets cold out, and at the end of the year. But I think once they understand that they don't have to have, it's kind of like a psychological thing that in the summer you don't really need. You're going to see pitchers return back to the elite pitchers will return back to their form, because it won't be this rhetoric or conversation we're having because they need this to pitch. Now, it might hurt some fringe pitchers or some pitchers who have been able to excel because of it. They're going to have to learn differently. And that's where you're going to see the offense balance be a little bit better. And I think that's what you've seen with hitters being a little more confident that they're not seeing the kind of revolutions and RPMs that they were before.
When you doctored the baseball, how did you do it, John?
When I doctored it, yeah, I wish I could have doctored the baseball. The bullfrog was the only way with rosin. That's the one area where if baseball next year can get to a common ground to where I think they're working on a substance that will work for everybody, because no hitter wants to know that a pitcher doesn't have control of a baseball. See, it went from being able to control the baseball to be able to do things to a baseball that haven't been done before. And I think that's the balance. That's the argument. And hitters will not complain if you have control of the baseball. Where they think it takes it to the next level is when the backspin and the spin rate gets to an all-time high. And I think that's where they say, okay, that's crossing the line. So back in the day when we couldn't go to our mouth. So you're pitching in Colorado with some of my worst feelings in the world, or I pitched in Cleveland. I had no way of getting grip on the baseball, and my performance suffered. It really did. And so from the moment it got below 40, I was in trouble. But anything that was over that, we had the rosin and we had the ability. And the bullfrog, by the way, only lasts if you have a short inning, because there's nowhere to put it. I didn't have anything on my body. It would basically be a little dab before the inning would start, go right to the rosin, and then I could pitch. But if I had a 30-pitch inning, then there was nothing to go to. So I think you're going to see a balance come back after the season's over of technology being able to or baseball being able to come together and have something that works for everybody.
I'll leave you with this. The All Star that isn't a household name, but we should keep an eye on tonight.
Wow, good question. I'm fans of guys that when you bring that up, I think of Whit Merrifield from the Kansas City Royals and how he does his thing when it isn't the most popular thing, right? He's not hitting a ton of home runs, he just gets base hits and steals. We're going to start seeing more of that in their game, I think. We're going to start seeing the David Fletchers. We're going to start seeing guys who don't shine.
And he's 32, John. He's 32 leading baseball in stolen bases.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, the art of the game is suffered in some ways because of the strategy of the game that's been playing. We're going to start seeing some outliers come back and see more speed and see more creativity, because you can't fill a roster with one-way players. And I think you're starting to see the value. Like, I don't know. Many people in the country don't know who David Fletcher is, but he signed a 5-year deal. The Angels love him. He'll hit a ball above his head. He'll hit a ball at his ankles. It won't show up on any statistic that is sexy, but yet all he does is get on base and help his team. And I think those are the kind of guys that when you look at the All-Stars are always going to take, the big boys are always going to take the headlines, but under the radar, you're going to start seeing these guys play the game a little bit differently.
Everybody's going to watch Ohtani, but I'm watching Witt tonight instead.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, I mean, in Colorado, you know, if he played in Colorado, he would be pushing the average way north of 300, and he would be stealing a lot more bases because the way the game is played in Colorado, everyone assumes there'd be home runs, but there's going to be more hits.
Can you later in the game tonight drop in as Joe, as I said earlier today on the Dan Patrick Show? Because I'll stay. Like if you get to the 6th inning, maybe I'll make sure my fans stay. 6th inning, 7th inning, just say, Joe, as I said earlier today on the popular Dan Patrick Show.
Yeah, there's I'm going to tie that in with Whit Merrifield.
Yeah, I love it.
There you got it.
I'm going to
So whenever he comes, when he comes in the game and he comes up to the plate, tune in.
Prepare. I want Fox to be ready for a blast of popularity. Your ratings are going to have a spike when Whit comes to the plate. Everybody's going to be tuning in. My best to Joe and John. Good to talk to you, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
That's Johnny Smoltz, Hall of Famer. He won a sports Emmy.